What's up, TKO Nation? Welcome back to the TKO Podcast. Make sure you tune in.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to Technical Knockout, the MMA Podcast. We have a very special guest here, Sarek Shields from the PFL. Say what's up, bro.
What up? What up, brother?
Sarek is coming off of a first-round doctor stoppage a couple weeks ago in Atlantic City, not too far from where I'm from. So I'm happy to have you on the show, bro. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for joining me. And,
happy to be here, man.
First off, congrats on the first-round stoppage, bro.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I mean, more importantly, congrats on the second baby, First-round stoppage is sick, but second baby is even better, you know what I'm saying? Hands
down, for sure.
I'm sure you're happy to be back with your family and stuff after what I'm sure was a tough camp and stuff. How's the last couple of weeks been coming off of that victory?
Yeah, it was good. This week's the first day back in the gym. My coach always has me take a week off after, camp and a fight and, stuff like that just to get my body rejuvenated. So, but it's been a good, couple weeks so far. I got to spend, that week off with my family, hang out with my son and my wife, just quality family time, lake days,
Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about, man. So let's start at the beginning for viewers of the show who might not be familiar with you. You made your MMA debut back in 2018, right?
Yes, sir.
Since then, you fought about 15 times since then, and you've been pretty active, fighting over the last 7 years, fighting 15 times. That's 2 times a year, or at least average. You fought in some great organizations like most recently the PFL, also LFA. Some of the best organizations in the world. Now that you're, coming off of this first-round stoppage in the PFL, so your second victory in the promotion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
How long do you think you want to take to get back in there? I know you're enjoying the quality time with your family, and you just got back in the gym. I'm not trying to rush you, but what do you think your timeline's like? Are you looking to maintain that active schedule?
Yeah, I really hope so. I like to stay as active as possible. Just like I say to, everybody, I just, whenever they call, I'll answer, so hopefully, it won't be too long. Like I said, I like to stay active. It keeps me, looking forward to do something. It helps, training. It's, I can't speak for everybody, but it's, a little hard to stay motivated when there's nothing over the horizon. But, I'm in the gym every day, hours on end, just working as hard as I possibly can. So hopefully I can, get another fight soon.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, until you have something lined up, I'm sure it's just, practicing and, keeping the pieces that you have sharp. I saw that in another interview you did, you said that you'd served in the military for a while. So, thank you for your service first off.
Thank you.
You decided to start MMA during your deployment, right?
Yeah, that's when I made the decision.
When you got into the sport. Yeah. When you got into it at that point, though, had you already had any martial arts practice or experience, or was it just kind of like you'd been in a couple fights and you're like, hey, I think I can do that?
No, I grew up wrestling, but other than that, I didn't really have any experience with combat sports,
I was going to ask about that because checking your tape and stuff, I was like, there's no way this guy just rolled into the gym, no fucking grappling experience. Because the way you shoot, the way you wrestle, I'm like, this dude knows what he's doing, you know what I mean? And especially you have a few guillotines and front chokes on your record. I saw that was something that you went to even in this last fight against Mech. And it felt like you're supernatural from that position. So I'm wondering if that front headlock series was something that you used a lot in your wrestling days.
Yeah, 100%. I was a big, snap down, turn around and take the back, and gator rolls to their back to try to pin them, stuff like that. So yeah, it comes pretty natural.
Yeah, no, I can tell, dude. I mean, I wrestled when I was younger too, and I was a double leg guy. So guys like you were like my nightmare. You know what I mean? So when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, I had flashbacks. I was like, this dude's gonna fucking snap down and take two on me, But yeah, no, I could tell, you can see that there's natural, or at least it's muscle memory for you now. So would you say that you besides wrestling, did you grow up watching the sport at all, or were you into like boxing at all, or is it just something that you got into then?
Oh no, yeah, 100%. Whenever I was a big MMA, UFC fan as a teenager, whenever like big fights would happen, we would always get together at a teammate's house, or even one of our coaches' houses, and get the card. We would pile like 25 to 30 kids in one living room. Basically just like have a pizza party and just watch the UFC event. So I grew up on the sport. Just at that age, I never thought
That's
I would
awesome.
ever participate in it.
Yeah, fair enough. What were some of your favorite fighters back then when you were getting into it?
Back then, Chael Sonnen, he was actually a pretty close friend to one of my coaches, so I met him a few times as a kid, and then when I started training at American Top Team, he was there all the time, so I even got to train with Chael a lot. And then GSP is my all-time favorite fighter ever, and then Cowboy Cerrone. He's always been a pretty big inspiration as well, and then, obviously like John Jones, I'm a pretty big fan of John Jones as well. Just, his fighting style, at least, maybe not his, personal life.
Yeah,
but,
I understand. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a little tough on that side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, I mean, you mentioned GSP, and I could definitely see, like, the influence, in the way that you carry yourself, the way that you conduct your interviews and stuff. Like, I think, at the time especially, he was, like, one of the big ambassadors for pushing the sport to a more professional direction, and it's kind of awesome to see, like, that legacy live on, you know what I mean? Because there's always going to be people who are just trying to be the loudest guy in the room and get attention that way. I appreciate, and I think, viewers of this podcast in particular appreciate the fighters who let their fighting do the talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I've never, even when I was a kid, I've never really been, a loudmouth or a shit talker or, anything like that. And
Fair.
Me and my dad actually had this conversation when I started fighting. He basically told me, he's like, if you ever become if you ever become that guy, like, he's like, me and you are going to have, a serious problem. And I always told him he would never, need to worry about it. I'm not going to, change who I am or change my personality just to, make other people, happy or, whatever. I am who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. So
That's really, I really appreciate hearing that, man. I think the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of, I mean, this is obviously a completely different realm, but, even in the MMA community, creator space, I mean, there's people who are putting pictures of themselves on their thumbnails, like, and like shit like that, and it's like, bro, I don't know, we're trying to elevate things here, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, exactly.
Sounds like we're on the same wavelength there. I appreciate that. But yeah, so I mean, naturally martial arts is a creative outlet. You're in there testing things out, seeing what works and seeing how you can improve on it. But do you have any other creative outlets? Like, do you play any instruments or draw or write or anything like that?
I actually read a lot. It kind of just like helps me calm my mind whenever I'm like kind of like sitting and doing nothing or whatever. My brain kind of goes 1,000 miles an hour. So reading has really helped me. Anything outside, man, like, I'll take my son out and, let him run around, and I'll kind of just like sit on my, little porch swing that we have and just, let him watch, kind of just like soak in the sunshine, maybe I'll take my book out there, whatever. And I also cooking. I actually love cooking as well.
I was literally just going to ask that. So, I mean, do you cook a lot of your meals for yourself? Do you have a nutritionist that helps you plan things, or is it kind of part of the creative fun to be the guy in control of that?
No, I don't have a nutritionist, but, luckily I kind of sort of know what I'm doing when it comes to, eating healthy and good food. And, especially when I'm in camp, I get, organic stuff, healthy, proteins and carbs and stuff like that. Like, when I'm in camp, that's kind of when I like control what I eat. Right now, I don't give a crap about, what I'm eating. Like,
yeah.
I still,
yeah.
I still make sure I'm not putting like poison in my body, and stuff like that. But like, I'm not counting calories or, anything like that. So, but yeah,
I mean, you're coming off the win, man. You gotta celebrate a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So, what are some of your favorite foods to cook or even just to eat? Did you grow up like? I mean, you said your dad was a big influence on you and everything like that. Was he like a cook in the house, or were you guys like? How did it come across that you? What kind of cuisines were you growing up eating?
A little bit of everything. I mean, definitely, steak, chicken. That's primarily like what I cook as well. And then, but my mom was also a really good cook as well, so it kind of just like runs in the family. It's basically like
Nice.
whatever we wanted as kids. My parents somehow knew how to cook it.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have right there. I also grew up in a house where my parents would cook every meal, I mean, largely because we couldn't afford to eat out, but I
Same.
still appreciate that creativity and stuff. Yeah. So you grew up in the West Coast, right? I saw that you're training now in Oregon, but originally from San Diego?
No, I'm from Oregon. I grew up here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, military family bouncing around, stuff like that. And we landed in Central Oregon when I was a kid. Grew up there, had my entire, not my entire, but, most of my young childhood and then my teenage years in Central Oregon. And then when I joined the military, San Diego is where I was stationed.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon's beautiful, dude. I was just up there literally like a week ago when we were trying to initially line up this interview. I was about to go on vacation over there. I might move out there, bro. It's fucking beautiful over there. I mean, it's like so much nature, so many nice people, like great food scene. You know what I mean?
For sure. I
don't have to tell
love
you,
Central
you
Oregon.
grew up there.
Yeah, I love Central Oregon. It's nice.
I gotta spend more time over there. I heard you say on the post-fight interview for the last one that you have some family out in Jersey. Do you have any roots over here? I'm from Jersey. I'm in Jersey, so I was just I kind of perked my ears up. I was like, hey.
Yeah, my dad is from Jersey. He grew up on LBI, and so.
Oh, nice.
We took a family vacation out there when I was 18, I believe. Man, I loved it out there when I was, a kid, and unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to be back to the East Coast until that fight, actually. So, but it was nice seeing everybody. It's been I'm 30 now, so like 12 years since I've seen all my aunts, uncles, cousins. So it was nice being able to have adult conversations with the kids I was just running around on the beach with, and have a nice little chill beer and catching up with what they were doing in their lives. It was really cool. It was awesome, and I hope I get to do it again because they are super supportive. I had a big group of family in the stands. It was really nice.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great, dude. I'm happy to hear that. It feels good what you're talking about. Like when you meet up with some family you haven't seen in a long time, there might be like some nervous energy. Like, hey, I wonder if we're still is it gonna be awkward? And then you meet them and you're like, hey, we actually, we grew up together. Of course, we were kind of similar, and you can have those adult conversations, which is super refreshing. That's dope, man.
It was nice.
I'm only asking because you briefly mentioned it, but you mentioned a beer. Are you a beer drinker? Do you like different kinds of beers and stuff, or are you kind of just like? I mean, obviously you're an athlete, so you're not getting in there crazy, I'm sure. But is that something you like to dabble in?
Yeah, I love beer. I like whenever I'm like chilling, I'll like sip on like Coronas or Blue Moon or anything like that kind of and then
classics.
Yeah. Just the yeah, exactly. Just the classics. And then, actually, when I had my honeymoon in Ireland, man, the Guinness in Ireland, it's way better than, way better than here, man. I don't know, it's just because of like the transport and, it's fresher and, we got the Guinness factory right there, but damn, the Guinness in Ireland is probably my favorite beer of all time now.
I've heard that before, man. I might have to take a trip out to Ireland, see what's going on.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 would
awesome.
definitely recommend.
For sure, dude. So when did y'all get married? When was that honeymoon?
Well, I mean, we were legally married for, a while, but we finally had our wedding, last July, in, 2024. And then, up until
Congrats.
then We took our honeymoon probably like, I want to say it was like 2 weeks before last Christmas. So like we were in Ireland during like their holiday season, and they take it pretty seriously over there, and I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
As a kid, I never really liked Christmas actually, and then when I met my wife, she's a big Christmas fan and stuff like that. So ever since we've been together, it's been growing on me, and then being in Ireland during that time of year, it grew on me a lot more. It was super nice, beautiful decorations, everybody's super nice over there. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, I've always wanted to visit one of those countries just because, I only speak English, so I'm trying to see as much exotic stuff as I can without getting swindled,
Right?
You know what I mean? So Ireland's up at the top of the list up there, like that, Scotland, these kind of places where it's like, at least I'll be able to tell whenever they're talking about me or something,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I mean, just to circle back to fighting a little bit, do you consider yourself, I mean, you said you grew up watching the sport a lot, but nowadays, are you like a super big fight fan? Do you watch like every weekend, or is it something that you're more involved in as a profession, as an athlete?
A little bit of both, it just depends on like who's fighting and what day and what I got going on. I'm not like one of those guys that will like cancel all of his plans to, watch an MMA card, but like, I don't have anything going on this Friday, so, I'm going to watch the PFL finals, for the, the lightweight division, and, probably have a few buddies over, drink a beer, or actually, yeah. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like whenever I can, I'll catch the cards. If I don't have anything going on.
So, who are your favorite fighters right now to watch? Like, across PFL, UFC, Ryzen, or One, if you are involved or if you watch that kind of stuff. Who are some of your like big favorite fighters or like inspirations as far as like where you want to get to, how they, where they're at?
Right now, if I had to pick, it would definitely be Justin Gaethje. I love the way he fights. I love the way he, never quits. He'll do whatever it takes to win, man. And he's a big inspiration of mine too. And then probably, Khamzat Chimaev. I respect. I don't know what happened to him, man, but I respect the way he kind of like turned his personality around. Like he went from screaming into the microphone saying that he's going to kill everybody and, stuff like that, to walking up to his opponents and, like, shaking their hands and, wishing them luck and, staying healthy, stuff like that. And, of course, his fighting style as well. Like, the dude is just a freaking animal and, terrifying, I'm sure, to be in the cage with. And then Max Holloway, for sure. I'll always watch a Max Holloway fight because that's going to be entertaining no matter what. And then probably even though he probably just retired, and I don't know if he'll ever step foot in the octagon again. But Dustin Poirier was also a fun guy to watch. I would always love watching Dustin Poirier fight too, because again, you just know it's going to be a banger.
Oh, yeah.
So
100%. Yeah. I'm happy you brought that up about Khamzat cleaning up his act a little bit. That was something that kind of turned me off to him when he initially came on the scene. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of his fighting talents because he's incredible, but that would kind of turn me off a little bit when he'd scream in the mic and things like that and kind of be like super brash. But I agree with you. I really love the way that he's kind of developed over this past couple of years. I think it was. I don't have any evidence to support this, but it was after that he had this like really bad COVID scare where he talked about retiring altogether and never competing again, and he was in the hospital and stuff. I think that kind of brought things to light for him, and he sort of seems to be a lot more appreciative these days, which I really admire as a fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, dude.
Man,
they're fighting this weekend.
Yeah, I'm definitely watching that. I'm watching that.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be sick. Yeah. Who do you got in that fight? I mean, you're a Khamzat fan, so I'm assuming you're going to take your boy in this one?
Yeah, DDP, he has his ways of, winning the fights, but again, I think Hamzat just has that pressure that he won't be able to deal with, even if he like manages to, stuff a couple takedowns or, or like scramble back to his feet, like Hamzat's not going to stop, man. And like now that he's at 185, his cardio's a lot better. I'm sure he's feeling a lot better, and the dude is just a giant. Like, you never really realize how big people are just watching him on TV, but like, there's already like pictures of Hamzat and DDP like, standing next to each other and like talking and, stuff like that. And like Hamzat is gigantic. I don't know how that dude ever made 170. Like, I know a lot of people like give him shit about,
seriously.
missing weight, but like he's made 170 before. Like, he's made the weight before, and it's like dude, how? Like, again, like I walk around at like
he looks like a light heavyweight.
And, like that dude must be, even when he was fighting at, 170, that dude must have been like 215.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know he had a lot of trouble with that cut, so I'm happy he went up to middleweight, and it seems like he's really finding his stride here. I mean, obviously that Robert Whittaker performance was insane, but
that
the Usman
my
fight
heart.
was also at middleweight, and that was like, I know, me too, bro. I was like so gung ho on Whittaker going in there. Like, I've always been a huge Whittaker fan. I just recently did like a long career retrospective of his, like, before the RDR fight, and like going into that Hamzat fight, like the first time, because it got canceled once, right? And I was like telling everybody on the pod, I'm like, oh, easy, Whittaker made a career off of beating wrestlers, and like, he's just gonna go in there, he's gonna survive, and then we'll see what happens, and it was literally like 2 minutes. I was like, fuck. I was like, damn, not my boy.
Fucking got taken down.
That's the hard part of watching the sport.
Got his teeth ripped out of his head, basically.
Oh, man. Oh, that was painful, And then the last fight he had was frustrating, too, because it was like, I don't know, it just seemed like, it's the hardest part about watching the sport, but sometimes your guys just don't have it anymore, you know what I mean? I think it might be that point. I love Robert Whittaker, but, I don't see him getting to the title again, unfortunately.
Yeah, same.
But that being said, both DDP and I mean, it's part of the game,
Yeah,
but
exactly,
I think DDP and Hamzat, both of them are like these, super talented, super physical guys that we're starting to see this new breed in the sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was talking with one of my friends about this the other day because I don't know if you saw the Anthony Hernandez fight last weekend.
No, I didn't.
Dude, this guy is like. He's like middleweight Marab, He's just running people ragged in there. It's crazy.
Oh, shit.
And I think this is the next level, You got to see it, bro. I think he lands like 15 takedowns on Dolidze. He just like took him down, let him up, took him down again. It was like embarrassing,
Damn.
If it was a fucking wrestling match, it would have been a tech for sure. Like, but anyway, I want to circle back a little bit to your personal life. When you're getting up for these fights, when you're training, I'm sure you have like some music to motivate you, right? Like, are you a big music guy? Are you like a playlist guy? Are you more like an album guy? Do you listen to much music at all? What's your relationship there?
When it comes to music, not really actually. Like, if I'm being honest, like I'll kind of just, when I'm going to the gym and I'm in camp, I'm actually, it's pretty quiet in my truck. I'll have, music in the background, but I'm not really focused on it. I'll actually be, running things in my head that I need to do in this training session, especially like on sparring days. A big thing for me is like, in my head, like, when I'm getting ready to spar, I'm telling myself over and over and over again, like, don't back up, pressure forward, pressure forward. And whatever's playing in the background is playing in the. I mean, Katy Perry could be playing in the background for all I know. Like, it's kind of like I'm kind of like just like zoned out to that, and I'm like going through all these things in my head that what I want to accomplish during the training session that I'm headed to.
I hear you, man. So it's all about the focus, Of course, that makes sense. What about movies? You a big movie guy? When you got time to decompress a little bit, do you watch a movie with the family?
Oh yeah, 100%. If my kid isn't paying attention, me and my wife, we like horror movies, stuff. I grew up on horror movies. I love horror movies. You know, and obviously, you know, a good action movie, you know, a good John Wick style movie. But yeah, if I had to pick a genre, you know, my favorite, you know, movies, it would definitely be horror movies.
I love horror movies too, dude.
Yeah.
What's your style? Do you like the more paranormal stuff or more like slasher, serial killer kind of vibe? What are you into?
I like the, like, you know, the kind of like paranormal creatures, like unrealistic things, because like, you know, as like, you know, if you're watching something like, you know, Scream or, you know, something like that, I'm kind of like just like staring at the movie, calling everybody a bunch of idiots because, you know, they're basically like, I know it's a movie.
Of course.
I know it's a movie, but like, you know, they're just doing all the wrong things. And I'm just like, you guys are idiots. But, you know, like if, you know, it's something, you know, paranormal or, you know, a scary monster or whatever, like, you know, when I was a kid, you know, I was terrified of Jeepers Creepers, you know, like that was probably one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. You know, something like that, you know, you know, you can't fist fight that thing, but
yeah, I'll tell you that much. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
of,
when
like,
I'm watching
you know,
like Scream.
Yeah, like it's kind of just like one of those things where you're just like, yeah, well, you know, like you may have, you know, a bulletproof vest, but you know, like I got a fucking 12 gauge shotgun in my closet. Like, don't really see you, you know, swinging a knife out of that situation.
Yeah, or just the crispy jab. You know, that might be all it takes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to ask you just a couple quick fire questions. You know, silly stuff mostly, or not silly, but you know, I mean, less serious things. All right, in the morning, are you a coffee guy or a tea guy, or are you no caffeine at all?
I'm a coffee guy. You know, I actually recently stopped drinking energy drinks. You know, because those things those things will slowly kill you. And you know, I was one of those guys that, you know, needed 300 milligrams of caffeine just to get out of bed. You know,
Woof.
Yeah. So I switched to coffee. No more energy drinks. You know, just a couple shots of espresso, and I'm good.
You take them straight, or you do like a cappuccino or something?
I'll do like a cappuccino or something.
Hell yeah, man. I just got into cold brew lately. Have you ever tried this stuff?
Oh yeah, I like cold brews as well.
Oh my god, dude, it's so good. That's what I was sipping on in the beginning of the interview. I'm like, it's a problem, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So breakfast or dessert?
Dessert. I actually fast in the morning. I don't eat until probably like, you know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon for my first meal. So yeah, I'm definitely
a dessert guy. What kind of desserts are you into?
Ice cream. Ice cream is my kryptonite, man.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'm not a cake guy, or like, you know, I'll dabble in a pastry every once in a while, but you know, put a bowl or a pint of ice cream in front of me and it'll be gone.
What you like, the more like funky flavors, like the Ben and Jerry's, all mixed them up, or you big like you're a realist?
Well, I love, you know, the classic vanilla ice cream, or, you know, cookies or cream, but, you know, my favorite is definitely, you know, half baked, or like the peanut butter style half baked. I love peanut butter. So anything with peanut butter in it that's my game.
Bro, that peanut butter half baked is crazy.
Dude, right?
That's a great shout. Great shout there. Yeah. Those things are dangerous, man. Like the pints of Ben and Jerry's, I'm like, oh fuck, like I'll eat half of it before I even know.
Dude, I'll eat a full thing
of
it.
So
I
for
won't even know.
yeah. For dinner, you got to go with a grain. Are you taking rice or are you taking pasta?
If I'm Oh shit, that's a good one. I eat a lot of rice. I do eat a lot of rice, but you know,
because it's better, right? It's better for you.
Yeah, but I do love pasta, man. I love pasta, like you know, a nice, you know, like, you know, shrimp fettuccine, or like a seafood fettuccine, or, you know, like stuff like that. Oh yeah, that's you know, that's my style right there.
Damn. That sounds great, dude. I'm hungry as fuck. I'm gonna make some. I got some bolognese ready to go in the fridge, so I'm gonna put that together after this. No, I'm definitely more of a pasta guy, but you know, rice has its place. I think it's like the cradle of civilization, rice. You know what I mean? There's like 10 or 12 cultures that wouldn't be able to survive without it. But yeah, no, pasta is a little bit more there to go. So you mentioned like in desserts. Are you a big candy guy at all?
Not really, actually. You know, the only really candy that I eat is the the, Snickers peanut butter bars.
Word. More of a chocolate guy, I see you. Yeah, that's fair. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty wrapped up here. You got any plugs you want to shout out before we wrap things up?
Yeah, man, for sure. Just, all my sponsors, Hellbound Tattoos, At Guardian, the clothing company that, recently signed me, all those guys are great. And, of course, my teammates and coaches at American Top Team, again, I always tell everybody, like, MMA is, it's kind of an individual sport, but, like, it takes a team to get you to where you're at. So, I'm extremely grateful for them, and of course, like, all my, close circle of friends, everybody that's helped me out through the years, pushing me to, be my best. And then, of course, my wife and my son, who is currently running circles around me right now. And, my unborn child, it's just, everything I do is for them, man. Like, I want them to grow up, knowing that their dad, did his best, tried, 110% with everything that he did, and that, he loves them with all of his heart. It's just, being a father is, the biggest blessing I have ever, received. So
it's beautiful, man. And, your kids are going to grow up and see the way you carried yourself and the way you acted, and they're going to be like, man, I'm proud of my dad, and that's the biggest prize you can get. So yeah, I'm really happy to talk to you, man. I'm really excited to see you back in there next time. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and joining us.
Of course, man.
I'm going to cue up this outro music. Nah, bro, thank you, dude. You're fucking cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time out, Alrighty, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Sarek, for joining us today. We're all going to be looking forward to your next fight. I appreciate you for joining us, man. Thanks so much, bro.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Hell yeah, man. We'll talk soon, man. Hopefully when your next fight gets signed, we can line something up,
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
All right, brother.